Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full Time, where we take you around the world of soccer, locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. The Full Time podcast is presented and powered by 91 Network. You're listening to Season 5, Episode 20 of Full Time. I'm your host, Daniel Scarpino, and with me is our co host, Gitano Gallo. Before we begin today's show, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. The Full Time Podcast is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza. With their 2 locations in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, you can download and access the Pizza Portal app so you can enjoy a delicious hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars today. The Full Time Podcast is also sponsored by Sioux Sports. To check out Sioux Sports and all of their articles, announcements, and streaming platforms, including True House Media and True North Radio, visit siouxsports.com as well as Sioux Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. We remind our listeners that recordings of Full Time occur weekly or bi-weekly, and uploads to all of our platforms for public viewing and listening occur weekly or bi-weekly as well. Folks, it is a pleasure to have you back here on Full Time, where we get to talk about the beautiful game. G, on this Thursday evening, how are you, my friend?
Not too bad. Scarp's a little sore from the double match week, the Monday, Wednesday, but it is what it is. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, sir. And the double match weeks means that we are getting into the business end of our indoor soccer season, and we've got a multitude of things to cover in our show today. And we're first going to talk about Europe's Big Five before we get into the MLS, the FA Cup, and the Champions League. As always, if anyone would like to listen to our previous content, please check us out at Full Time on all platforms of 91 Network. And without further ado, Gaetano, and to everyone who has taken the time to tune in here today, let's kick off. We are going to get today's show started with Europe's Big Five and a discussion about the Premier League. And before we get into this discussion, Gaetano, I have a concession to make. And I know we haven't talked about this off air, so you're not expecting this, but I've got to get this off my chest. Today is February 27th. It's 7:41 p.m. Eastern Time. I, Daniel Scarpino, co-host of the Full Time Podcast, am officially conceding the title race in the Premier League. I'm done. It's over. Liverpool are going to win the league. I'm not upset about that because they deserve it. I'm just upset with how this football club of mine, Arsenal, runs. Owners have let me down. They've let the fans down. They let the club down. The board is a disgrace. The players deserve better. The fans deserve better. Arteta deserves better. We all deserve better. We've gifted this title to Liverpool, and I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but this title race is officially over. There's no miracle comeback. It's done. We can't even get a touch in the opponent's box, so it seems. We've got no striker. We did zero business this January. We did very little business in the summer. The club tells us to be excited. Phase 5, all of this. And I've got more questions than answers. Adu quits the club. He's gone. And it's gone, Adu's left the club. Why? Probably because he wants to buy players and the club has no ambition. Well, as long as we get in the top 4, we get almost the same money as first place. And as long as we get the Champions League money, we're okay too. I never really liked this ownership group of the Cronkies. They don't understand football. They run it like a business, this club. They don't care about the fans. The board hasn't got a clue. They didn't back Arteta, and I'm sick to the back of my teeth with it. My head's basically gone. I've needed to get this off my chest for the better part of a week now. I have done. So that's all I've got to say on the Premier League, Gaetano. If you want to take it over, you certainly can. If not, we can move on. But my head's gone, honestly.
No, I just, as a City fan, us being shit this year, this was the perfect time for an Arsenal to win a Premier League or to push really, really, really close. Obviously this Liverpool team is very good as well. It wouldn't have just been a walk in the park for Arsenal. But, if there was ever a time for Arsenal to, okay, you know what, we need to get that £100 million striker. We need to get that, £80 million winger. This was the year for it. And yeah, like they said, and not only does that let the fans down, lets the players down, lets Arteta down. It's from an Arsenal perspective, it's not a great look for the board and for the owners at all, really. And in terms of Liverpool, kind of, I don't want to say walking the league, but making pretty short order the league. Congrats to them; they've been fantastic all year. We've been waiting for the bubble to burst, and it just kind of never did. They've been phenomenal. And really, the story for the rest of the season is going to be the battle for the top four.
No, and that's exactly it. And, the last 2 seasons losing to City, us being a relatively young and inexperienced team, zero shame in that whatsoever, but we competed right until the end. This season, we've gone out with a whimper because we don't have any attacking prowess up front. Defensively, we're pretty sound. In midfield, we're good. But again, they're running the club like a business, the owners are. The fans have been literally crying for a striker for the past 2 seasons, and you don't listen to the fans. This is an ownership group that does not care. As long as they can get the profits of now, I think they're like at 160 million or something, they're just happy with that. And as long as we can keep getting back into the Champions League, they're happy with that too. And the one year that City actually slips up, and with the greatest deal of respect to you, I love you, but they're just not having a good season, we don't take advantage of it, and it's very disheartening as a fan because we're told to be excited. We're told that, get excited because we're going to do this, and this, and then we're left with absolutely nothing. And now, since Adu's left the club, there's been zero communication of what our outlook's going to be. Oh, this summer we'll be busy. How? You line up a million targets, and who are we expected to get? It's very frustrating, but congrats to Liverpool for sure. And I don't really have anything to say on the relegation zone, G, because that's pretty much stayed games.
Yeah, there's been like a couple of movements in terms of like the 15, 16, 17, but kind of the same teams are all still involved. The points totals basically are all still the same. If you look at just like the form of the bottom 6, between the 6 teams in the last match week, there was 1 draw, 1 win, and 4 losses. So it's basically business as per usual in the bottom of the table.
Yeah. And before we move on, because we do have to move on, this can't be an Arsenal podcast, I do want to say one more thing. So 3rd last game of the season, Arsenal play against Liverpool. So Liverpool probably will have the league wrapped up by then. So you know what that means, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guard of honor. So if that's not going to infuriate the owners or the board, I'm just calling it now. Nothing ever will. So if we have to give Liverpool a guard of honor, which they rightfully deserve.
Is the game at Anfield or at the Emirates?
I'm going to double check that. I'm pretty sure it's at Anfield.
Okay, that's like slightly less bad, like slightly. Having to do it on your own patch, that's a tough pill to swallow, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna double check that right now because I certainly don't want to misspeak. Yeah, it's at Anfield. So
okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, it hurts just like slightly less.
Yeah. So if Liverpool have the title wrapped up by then, which they probably will, that'll mean guard of honor. And like I said, if that doesn't infuriate the owners, then 1, they don't know anything about football. 2, if that doesn't infuriate the board to say, okay, sorry guys, sorry Arteta, we need to go and spend money. We got to get you a striker. I'm not asking for a million things under the sun. I just need 1 player. The fans just want 1 player. We just want a striker. We're not asking for much. So if that doesn't happen, then major changes will have to happen. But that's basically the look of the Premier League. And congrats to Liverpool. Let's go, G, to Spain's La Liga. The top of the table is pretty much as interesting as you'd like. Barcelona and Real are joint top still with 54 points, and Atletico Madrid is right behind them with 53 points. Athletic Club, they are slowly ticking away because they're not really that far behind. They've got 48 points. So I'm going to pass it over to you, G. Take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the title, I don't think Athletic Club are gonna make that push. I would absolutely love to see it. It would be a fantastic story. But kind of the way the season's going, they should be like comfortably top 4, potentially even 3rd. But the real story is kind of like it feels like the mid 2010s. It's Barca, Real, and Atletico battling it out at the top of the table, or just kind of missing Messi and Ronaldo and those guys. But it's just been fantastic to watch out in Spain. This is, by far one of the best title races we've seen out there in a while. For the last couple of years, it's kind of just been like runaway winners all around. So this has been a fantastic kind of change of pace in Spain.
Yeah, absolutely loving it. And it's all eyes glued on La Liga at this point. And hopefully this continues until the final day. And another interesting title race, of course, we've been covering it here on Full Time in Serie A, is basically as tight as ever out there in Italy. Inter is now top with 57 points, so they've jumped from second to first. Napoli dropped down to second with 56 points. Atalanta is right in striking position now in third with 54 points. What a climb that they've made in the past about 8 or so games. And Juventus, they've also hit a very good patch of form, winning 4 of their last 4. And they have themselves now 49 points in fourth. So, gee, the title race here is good and well on, my friend.
Exactly. And kind of what I just said about Spain, like, Juve in fourth probably aren't going to push for the title. That might be a little bit too far, but, should be battling for top 4, which for the club is good because they've been awful the last couple of years. And, just, getting a nice comfortable-ish top 4 finish would probably do that club a lot of a good in terms of confidence and kind of stability. But yeah, Atalanta, within like a 3 points, like a win of the top of the table. And obviously, it feels like every time we talk about how close the title race is, the next match week is the top of the table clash, and we do have Inter Napoli this weekend, which should be, if it's not one of the best games of like the weekend, it'll be one of the best games of the season. I can't imagine the atmosphere in that stadium. It's going to be absolutely electric for the battle at the top of the table. This could be in reality like a title deciding fixture. I am unbelievably excited for it.
Me too, and I don't want to be pessimistic or anything because, like you said, it totally could be a title decider. Should be one of the games of the season. I just hope that both managers don't go into the game and just play it safe and just go for a 0-0 and then try and decide the title later on in the season, because we've seen that in the past in Italy, which is kind of why Italy's marked with like defensive, boring football. So I hope that doesn't happen. I'm hoping that what you say comes true, and I'm hoping for just an all-timer for this season at least. Out in the Bundesliga, Bayern hold an 8-point lead at the top over Leverkusen with just over 10 games remaining. Gitano, how many slip-ups, if any, can Leverkusen afford before they have to concede the title to Bayern?
I mean, like, there's probably some there is a mathematical amount of points they can drop before the title is gone, but the reality is they can't drop any more points. If they, want to be on that last match week in contention for the Bundesliga title, they cannot drop any more points. Bayern slipping here and there, 4 wins and a draw in their last 5. So obviously not like perfect, but as close as they're going to get. So you have to be better than that. You have to be better than Bayern's nearly perfect, which is exactly perfect. So yeah, the reality is Bayer Leverkusen cannot afford to drop a single point for the rest of the Bundesliga.
Yeah, and I can't wait to get to our Champions League talk a little bit later, because I want to talk about a somewhat battle at the top of the Bundesliga. There's going to be an absolute battle in Germany for the Champions League, so we'll talk about that shortly, but good things happening in Germany all the way around. And finally, in France's League, the gap becomes wider and wider. PSG now have a 13-point lead at the top over second place Marseille. Gitano, back in 2015-2016, PSG won the title by a staggering 31 points over second place Lyon. Now, in those times, they played 38 games. They now play 34 games, so there's less games to play. So I'm not suggesting that we're going to see the same margin of victory and defeat this year at the top of the table with PSG in terms of how they win the league. But do you think that the gap at the top could continue to increase? Because it seems as time goes along, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and I'm knocking on my wooden desk here. Like, PSG still have not lost a game domestically in their league this season. And just typically when that happens, it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, the margin of difference between first and second place is usually at least 15, 20 points. So I would assume just if they keep this form going, obviously Marseille are in okay-ish form, 3 wins in their last 5, but for every time Marseille are dropping those points, like that gap is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. PSG just kind of refused to lose at this point. So yeah, it might not be like record breaking as you said, and especially with the games difference, but like it's going to be a pretty hefty points difference between the two of them.
I'm thinking so, and just week by week, Gitano, we're just going to be looking possibly to see how much the gap at the top widens, because we know that the race there, just like we talked about in the Premier League, pretty much done and dusted.
13-point gap both ways, is it not?
13-point gap both ways. Unfortunately, you are spot on in that regard. Now, something that we certainly are excited for, the MLS season is here. Gitano, it seemed like the shortest off season of all time, and like every season we talk about this, and this was one of the first things that first connected our friendship over a decade ago. But the season sneaks up on us more and more every year. We just don't seem to expect it, but this season more than ever certainly snuck up on us. But we are officially back for Major League Soccer, my friend. How you feeling?
As an MLS fan on the whole, I'm really excited. As a TFC fan specifically, it's a different kind of excitement. It's kind of, looking for fresh starts and, bright futures and, kind of looking forward more than looking to what's going on. But yeah, just super excited. And I know why this season snuck up on us so much, Scarps, especially as TFC fans. The window was so quiet. Yeah. TFC did very, very minimal business, very small business. Insigne is somehow still on the payroll. Bernardeschi seems that he wants to be on the payroll and is going to act like it. So that's why if we brought in like a big striker, or, big signing, would have felt a little more, excited for this. But as TFC fans, it was very much just, oh, here we go again.
Yeah, no, literally it was less than a week. It was maybe like 3-4 days when I'm like, oh my God, season's going to start at the weekend. I'm like, I need to get caught up here. And obviously there was a lot of talk about Inter Miami, which we're going to talk about here in a moment. But beyond that, yeah, totally snuck up on us. But I'm like you, as an MLS fan, really excited for the season, really excited to see what unfolds. As a TFC fan, just hoping for a bit of improvement, like you said, brighter future and brighter days ahead. So we're going to highlight here and preview the season for all of you listening here to Full Time Here and Now. And we're first going to start in the Eastern Conference. And all of this information is according to MLSsoccer.com. Miami are the Eastern Conference favorite after a record-breaking Supporter Shield winning season where they earned 74 points. Look for Atlanta, and Cincinnati challenge. I was going to say Atalanta. Look for Atlanta and Cincinnati to challenge Lionel Messi and company, especially after big swings in the winter transfer market. Chicago have the number 9 cut-off spot, so it appears. So, Gitano, who do you like in the East this year?
We'll just rip the Band-Aid off. Obviously, Inter Miami, because, Messi, Suarez, Busquets, Alba, the whole gang. They're still just fantastic. Obviously, older and slower and maybe not as prolific as they were in their primes, but still more than good enough to kind of, pretty comfortably get through this regular season. And then Columbus Crew, they maybe aren't like a favorite or like a bright and shiny pick, but Tim Bezbatchenko has built an absolute unit of a team there. They're almost always in playoff contention, always going a couple of rounds deep. Again, like they're maybe not the prettiest, shiniest outfit in the league, but they sure do get the job done.
I'm thinking so as well. I'm with you there, and I'm not sure if you saw Messi's first goal of the season. Takes it down, cuts, turns, and yeah, I don't know. It almost seems too easy. I'm sure in some respects it is. Obviously, they got upset in the playoffs last year, which football, we say it on Full Time all the time. They can happen. Anything can happen, of course. But yeah, I'm with you, man. Inter Miami should be destined for glory there. And yeah, you can never count out Columbus, always a prolific MLS team. And in the West, while LA are the defending MLS Cup champions, LAFC and Seattle are the early Western Conference favorites. Austin and San Jose could be due for a turnaround after winter transfer action under their new head coaches. In their inaugural season, San Diego and Chucky Lozano will look to prove the doubters wrong. Gitano, what are your expected outcomes in the Western Conference?
So again, the West is also kind of boring. Like the article said, it's the two LA teams. It's Seattle. It's just, just proven like they just, that's what they do. Those three franchises, Seattle and LA Galaxy basically since MLS inception, and LAFC since they came to the league a couple years ago, all they do is win. So I don't expect that to change anytime soon. I expect those three to be, I would expect two of those three at least to be in the Western Conference final for sure.
Yeah, the image that I have in my head, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to describe it well enough. I should, because I'm a teacher for a living, but like a revolving door and like a new person in the shot always appears. I feel like between those three teams, at some point that revolving door has to have a wedge in it and it stops, and whatever one ends up on the right side of the building, inside the building, is the winner. So that's the kind of image that I have in my head. That makes sense. And I'm totally on the same page as you, as we often are. And Gitano, we do have to talk about TFC a little bit. Again, it's our beloved TFC, who and sort of not maybe who's going to turn around for TFC, but what could turn things around for TFC this year? Could it be the manager? Could it be a player? Could it be a cohesive team effort? What can we really look forward to this season as TFC fans, if anything?
I just want to say I called Robin Fraser getting appointed as coach. Like right when Herdman left, I think I said he was one of the guys that I'd love to see back.
Yeah.
Was an assistant manager under Vanny, knows the club, knows the city, fantastic, and I think he's going to do a fantastic job. I think that's a huge that's the starting point. Is we have to have a good coach. A decent coach would have been okay, but a good coach is better. But really, I think the biggest thing, if TFC do nothing this year but get Lorenzo Insigne off the payroll, it's a successful season. He very clearly doesn't want to be in Toronto, doesn't want to play for the club. Why are we going to pay him, tens of millions of dollars a year to take up a DP spot, to sit in a press box if he's even in the city? I think that's kind of going to be number one priorities, get him shipped out. And, even if that takes us half the season, it takes us to the summer. Okay, now we go and get someone in the summer, get a DP to replace him. I think that should be the main focus. And then we've seen a lot of young players getting signed. So we actually signed Arsenal's youth captain, the U18s. I think it was a U18 or U19, something like that. Central defender, I could not remember the kid's name for the life of me. But we've also seen a lot of TFC2 kids getting their first pro contracts and graduating up to the first team. So I think, if you're obviously not expecting them to be fantastic, play perfect seasons right now, but, you're looking for those bright spots, those moments of growth, those moments of learning from these young players. And again, specifically in the back line, like our back line needs to kind of be completely rebuilt at this point. That's kind of what I'm looking for anyways, because it's never going to be a perfect season. They're never going to be consistent from, match week 1 until the end of November. But just I want to see patches of them playing well and learning and growing and adapting. And hopefully Lorenzo Insigne is shipped off to whoever will pay him.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there, man. And again, I think that this season is going to be a huge learning curve, but I would say a positive learning curve. And that's all we can really hope for at this point. And if there's some decent results that come along with it, then that's all the better. But if not, and we don't end up challenging for a playoff spot, which we likely won't, because again, a lot of things have to happen there. Hopefully, to your point, there's growth and there's some form of unity and uniformity built in the squad, because that'll take us forward in seasons ahead. So, of course, the MLS is back, and we are beyond excited to bring you all of the updates and highlights throughout the season right here on Full Time. This is Daniel Scarpino and Gitano Gallo, and you're listening to the Full Time podcast on 91 Network. A reminder that Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza and Sioux Sports. Check out the Pizza Portal app for a quicker and easier way to get your next hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars. And be sure to check out Sioux Sports at siouxsports.com and Sioux Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Shifting gears, it is the FA Cup 5th round that will get cracking this weekend, and we have the magic of the Cup to look forward to with just about every kick of the ball. We will now get into all of the upcoming matchups for each of you. First, it will be Aston Villa taking on championship side Cardiff City. One of the funnest things we get to do on our show is make predictions. We got this is called the FA Cup 5th round. It's essentially the round of 16. So between Villa and championship side Cardiff City, who are right now battling relegation in the championship, who do you like here?
I'm going to take Villa, but I just want to kind of put the asterisk of it'll be a very easy game if Villa field a strong team, but Villa also have Champions League football that they're still playing, and also are doing decently well in the Premier League and are going to be looking to secure Champions League football again. So if they play a weaker side, it might not be as straightforward as it looks on paper, but I still think that either way, Aston Villa should go through.
Yeah, man, I'm with you there. Villa battling pretty much, with the exception of the Premier League, even though they're battling for top 4 honors, they're battling in all of their competitions still. So I'm also going to take Villa, but I don't think it's going to be a particularly easy contest. I could expect this one to be a very tight type of 2-1, we'll call it. Next, it's Crystal Palace who take on championship side Millwall. Gitano, any chance of an upset here?
I don't think so. Palace are in a surprisingly, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, because they're playing really well. Ollie Glasner's got them firing on all fronts. Jean-Philippe Mateta's just been banging goals for fun. Looks like Brazilian R9 out there. He's just, I think they're just going to, again, not breeze it, but it should be pretty comfortable for them.
Yeah, man. And it's one of those things whereby they don't have to worry about midweek games with, European nights in either the Europa Conference League or Champions League. Obviously, the Carabao Cup's done and dusted, has been for a long time. So there's no reason why they wouldn't field their strongest 11. And to go up against championship side Millwall, I think that they get the job done too. So we'll both go Crystal Palace. An all-championship showdown between Preston and Burnley will go down this weekend in this round of the FA Cup. G, who advances?
I'm going to take Burnley. They've been absolutely fantastic in the championship this season. Promotion for them, not mathematically secured, but looking very likely, or at least playoffs. So I think they're going to kind of, they might not have all their eggs in like their domestic league basket. I think they're going to field a pretty strong team here, and they should have no trouble with Preston North End.
Yeah, I'm again 3 for 3 with you, man. It's one of those things. It's hard to go against a solid defensive team that doesn't really concede goals. It's hard to bet against them, and I'm not willing to at this point in the competition bet against Burnley. And maybe if they were playing against the Premier League side, I just might. But in this case here, I think that they will just be a little bit too much for Preston. Bournemouth and Wolves take on one another in an all Premier League clash. Gee, both teams would love to win this one, but only one team will. Who is it going to be?
I'm tempted to say Wolves might squeak this one out. I don't think it'll be particularly easy. I don't think it'll be very pretty either. But I don't know. His gut feeling says Wolves here.
Yeah, man. And unfortunately, I have to also take Wolves. I know it's brutally unfortunate. And the only reason why is because if you take a look at injuries in the Premier League, like which squads have been most hit with injuries, Bournemouth's like right near the top. They really are. So again, I think what they might have to concede is this competition, get some guys healthy, get some guys back, and try and just get into one of the top. I think this season for the Premier League, it might be the top 7. It looks like the top 5 will get Champions League, 6 Europa League, 7th conference. So I think that they'll be battling for the top 7, and that's where their focus will be. Wolves should stay up, but if they can guarantee something with the FA Cup, I think that'll be better for them. So I'm also going to take Wolves there. Manchester City hosts Plymouth Argyle in this round of the FA Cup. Gitano, what can we expect in this game between your Manchester City and Plymouth Argyle?
Well, what I would really, really, really like to see, and he just got officially unveiled today, but 19-year-old Claudio Echeverri, the Argentinian wonder kid that City signed from River Plate. I want to say it was last summer. He stayed there on loan until actually just now. He just landed in Manchester. I think City should win the game comfortably, and I would just like to see him just get like a 5-10 minute cameo, do a couple flicks, get the fans excited for something like that. That's what I would like to see.
Man, I'm just going to put this one out there, and we can clip it if we want. I'm not sure if we're going to end up clipping my rant at the beginning of our show or not, but we can certainly clip this. 8-0 City, and all the memes are going to be about Wayne Rooney should have been the coach for Plymouth Argyle. I think it's going to happen. 8-0 City on it now. So
8 different goal scorers? What do we got here?
No, I think it'll be a bit of a hybrid. I couldn't tell you who's going to score, but there's going to be a few different goal scorers. Get Foden in on the action, get Marmouche, get whoever you like, get the boy that you just mentioned, anybody you like. You can pull Vinny Company from Bayern. 5th minute sub, he'll get a goal too. I'm calling 8-0 right now.
All right.
All the memes will be about Rooney, guaranteed. When Brighton will battle it out in what many are calling the must-watch match of this round, which I don't necessarily disagree with. Who gets through?
This one is, again, probably the tightest one that we've called so far. Is the game at Newcastle or is the game at Brighton?
I want to say Newcastle. I'm going to double check that right now.
It is at St. James Park. I'm going to take Newcastle. I think that will be the difference, is that St. James Park crowd. We've talked about it for years on this podcast. It's just a ridiculously hostile atmosphere to go to as an away team. And I think just that home crowd boost is going to be what gets Newcastle over the line here. It's going to be really tight. Is it penalties or extra time or a replay if it's a draw?
I think they've done away with the replays, which made the lower league team super upset, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Right. So I think it goes straight penalties, if I'm not mistaken. I wouldn't mind picking up those rules right now as well.
So I think either way, if there's no replay, like we're getting either extra time or penalties out of this fixture, I think it's going to be that tight. These are two of the better teams in the Premier League.
Yeah, it's gonna after 90 minutes, extra time and penalties.
Yeah, so I think we're guaranteed extra time, almost guaranteed penalties. Like I said, two of the best teams in the Premier League going at it. Both of them really wanting to win, these trophies. I think for sure it's going to go extra time. And I just think that Newcastle crowd is they're just so loud and rambunctious. I think that's just going to be the extra Newcastle.
And shame on me for actually even having a question about the extra time, because I'm still kind of haunted by the fact that we didn't beat United after they went man down. We didn't get them in extra time, then we ended up losing on penalties. So I shouldn't have forgotten that, but just goes to show, like, football is a crazy game because things become a distant memory even when they hurt.
Yep.
That just shows like how much football we've been watching this season. But no, you make a lot of good points, Gitano, and I can't disagree with you in terms of it going the distance. I'm actually finally will disagree with one. I'm going to take Brighton because I think that Newcastle is going to have their eye on that Carabao Cup final, and I'm not sure that all of their focus is going to be on this one. And I think for that reason alone, I think Brighton will take this opportunity to pounce. So I'm going to take Brighton. You'll take Newcastle. It's our first disagreement here. And another one that we've got upcoming, Gitano, it's Manchester United and Fulham. They'll have more than enough eyes on that game in this round of the Cup. Gitano, who's going to win that contest?
Fulham next. No, but for real, Fulham are actually in a decent run of form. I think they're 8th or 9th in the league right now, having a really good season. And United are just an absolute dumpster fire. So I can't see Fulham not winning this game. And especially at Old Trafford, the pressure is going to be on United. It's going to be on Ruben Amorim. So for Fulham, it's weird saying that they're going to go to Old Trafford and have no pressure on them. But I really don't think they will. I think there's going to be so much pressure on United to win this game to try and salvage something from this season. And I think Fulham are going to get the win.
And you know how crazy it is? Like, you hear all these pundits and what have you, ex-players saying, why are these players scared to play at Old Trafford? Like, you shouldn't be scared to play in front of that crowd. Like, you've got whatever it is, like 80, 90,000 behind you. Like, that should be the best feeling in the world. You shouldn't be so poor at home, but they are. And probably stupid of me. I'm going to take United only because I think if they do end up crashing out in the Europa League, like you said, they need something to salvage their season. And I can't see them ending up in 14th place, crashing out of Europe, and then also not getting something in this competition, at least making somewhat of a run. So for that reason, I'm going to take United, but I guarantee you I'm going to swallow my words on that one because Fulham, they've been having a good season. And I could definitely see them pulling this one out, Gitano. But yeah, I'll take United just for the sake of they need something. And Nottingham Forest hosts Ipswich Town in the final game of this round. Gitano, what do you anticipate here?
This one should be pretty cut and dry. It should be Nottingham Forest going through. Ipswich they're just not at that level. Nottingham Forest are one of the best teams in the league this season. Ipswich Town are barely getting by in the league. Almost definitely relegated, like mathematically at this point. It's getting close. It's really it should be very simple. Forest should be winning this game.
Yeah, man, I'm with you there. I'm also going to take Forest. And I think from a tactical perspective, I wouldn't be surprised if Forest set up really low, really deep, and just said, Ipswich, we know that you can't break us down, so here, have the ball. Forest will hit them on 2-3 counterattacks and then ice the game 60 minutes into it, 1 hour into the contest. So I'm with you, G. I think that Forest will win as well. So, Gitano, to review our picks, you're going to take Villa, Crystal Palace, Burnley, Wolves, Manchester City, Newcastle, Fulham, and Nottingham Forest. I'm going to take Villa, Crystal Palace, Burnley, Wolves, Manchester City, Brighton, Manchester United, and Nottingham Forest. And a reminder that the games in this 5th round of the FA Cup will be played this weekend, starting on Friday and ending on Monday. You can catch all of the games on your local television sports network. Moving along, it is the Champions League that is more than ready to present the round of 16. And just like the FA Cup, we got your preview set and ready to go right here on Full Time. First, it's going to be Club Brugge taking on Aston Villa. Gitano, Club Brugge is coming off of a triumphant win in their qualification round tie, whereas Villa will presumably be ready to lay everything on the line. But which of these teams, Gitano, will win over 2 legs?
This is not that there's all of the ties are really like fascinating, but for me, this one kind of like stands out as like I genuinely can't pick these two teams apart. This could go so many different ways. I just think Club Brugge has just a touch more experience in Europe, and I think that's going to be the big difference here. I think that's what's going to see them over the line. It's going to be super close, but I'm going to take Club Brugge.
Man, I've been tussling with this one. The only thing that kind of gets me to swing the way of Aston Villa is Unai Emery, plus the business that they did in the window, which I happen to think was pretty decent business. So for those two reasons, the business and Unai Emery, I'm going to take Villa, but I expect this one to be a really, really, really close tie over two legs, Gitano. Next, it's an all Madrid showdown. That's right. It will be Real Madrid up against Atletico Madrid in the round of 16. Gee, this is a script that no one would have ever thought have been possible. And obviously in the old format of the Champions League, it wouldn't be possible. But with this newly formatted Champions League, it is in fact a reality where you got two teams from the same country playing against each other, not to mention two local rivals. So who is going to have the bragging rights after this round, Gitano?
So I get PTSD from Atletico Madrid in the Champions League from the 2021 run. That was just the hardest 180 minutes I've ever had to watch as a City fan. Like when I say war, I mean it was war. Like it was just hard fouls and just grinding for 180 minutes. But then on the other side of that is Real Madrid. The kings of Europe. What is it? 16-time Champions League winners now.
Right.
And again, like it's just in a season where they're battling for the title. Like it's just all perfect. And then I also flash back to the 2014 Champions League final, the Sergio Ramos header in the 94th minute. Like all that stuff like floods back to me. And I look at this, I'm like, first of all, I'm so excited to watch this. Like
we've talked about it so much on our show. For when the games are played, because of both of our work schedules, like I can only ever catch the second half. I'm just looking forward to the second half. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I am typically with City, I'll schedule my day so I can at least sit in for like a bit of the game in the office and do my paperwork. But like when these games are on, I'm like, man, like I need to be in the office watching this. Like this is must watch football. I don't care what year it is, what competition it is. Like anytime they play each other, it's just absolute war. For the sole reason that I just don't like the institution of Real Madrid, I'm going to take Atletico Madrid, but it is going to be an absolute bloodbath. I expect red cards for players and managers and coaching staff. Like I expect to just kick off. It's going to be a 180-minute war. I cannot wait for it.
Man, and when you hear in the press conferences when managers say, oh yeah, the game had a little bit of everything in it, I think over the two legs, this is literally going to have everything in it and some. And I respect the fact that you're taking Atletico. I've tussled with it as well. I am just going to take Real Madrid just because I have a very difficult time betting against them in the Champions League. And for the next matchup that we're going to talk about, the winner of that is going to be playing against whoever wins out of this tie. So I'd imagine whoever goes through from this tie is obviously going to be deserving to do so. But like you said, it's going to be a bloodbath. No one's going to be coming out of that fresh as a daisy. So can't wait for that tie, Gitano. PSV takes on Arsenal in the round of 16. Gitano, a lot can happen in this one. And I don't know. I've got a lot of feelings on it, but I'm going to pass it to you first. How do you see it ending?
I'm going to keep it brief just because as the Arsenal fan, this is kind of your moment in the spotlight to talk about Arsenal in Europe. I was really impressed with PSV against Juve. I really didn't see that coming from them, especially to come from behind win as well. Like it's not like they were kind of dominant the whole leg or the whole tie, just in that second leg really, powered through to get the win. I really think Arsenal's lack of a striker is going to be like a big problem. If it kind of hasn't, already been a massive problem domestically, I think this is just going to exaggerate the problem even more. I think it's going to be really close, but I think PSV are going to sweep this one.
Yeah, I don't blame you in the slightest. I don't blame any other fan that takes PSV. I wouldn't blame any Arsenal fan who takes PSV. I have to back my club and say that they're going to win. And the only hope that I can rely on is the following, Gitano. And I'm sure that you'll remember this. COVID season, Mikel Arteta comes in, new manager, never had a job before, like as a manager. He was an assistant manager. course. He came in, looked at the squad, and said, okay, I can't really do one thing with this squad. I've got to change it up. So he played different formations. He played different tactics. He put different players in different positions, and he found a way to win the FA Cup. I think now he's going to have to take the same approach, and he's probably already had meetings with his staff and have said, okay, Premier League's done. Doesn't matter what we do there, it's done. But in cup competitions, it's a little bit different. So I think that he just might alter the tactics. I think we might see Arsenal play completely different. And I can only bank on that and hope on that. And maybe we squeak a result against PSV, try and get into the next round, and then just basically hope for a miracle. So I'm going to take Arsenal in the hopes that Arteta uses some tactics that maybe we haven't deployed yet, and just kind of hope for the best. Dortmund will take on Lille across two legs. Dortmund were sound in their last tie, not conceding a single goal. But this Lille side, they're relatively rested by way of comparison. So who do you like in this one?
So it's funny that you bring up Dortmund's kind of defensive record against Sporting, because that was kind of my whole reason why I think they're going to win. They obviously were able to score a couple goals, but Sporting are one of the highest scoring sides in Europe right now, with one of the hottest strikers in the world in Victor Gyökeres, and they neutralized them. He got nothing. They got nothing out of it. And when I look at that Lille side, they're a good team, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think they have anywhere near the offensive firepower that Sporting had. And I think Dortmund had relatively no issues with dealing with Sporting. I think they'll get through. It's not going to be easy or comfortable, but I do think Dortmund are going to get through, and I think they're going to go through on their defense, which is not something I would have really ever thought, back in the days of Dortmund having, Royce and Aubameyang and Lewandowski and being, prolific, kind of a prolific offensive team, to kind of change their whole ethos to be a really sound defensive team. It's a hell of a turnaround, but I do think that's going to see them through the next round here.
Yeah, and sometimes teams and managers can just find the right ingredients at the right time, and I think that Dortmund have kind of stumbled upon that, if you will, and for the first time in this selection here, Gitano, I'm going to agree with you, and we'll agree with each other. I'm also going to take Dortmund, but again, I don't think it's going to be easy by any means, to your point. But I do believe that Dortmund have stumbled upon some really good tactics and a good way of playing, and I think that will carry them through this round as well. Feyenoord will lock horns with Inter in the last 16. There are no freebies in this round, so who do you think is going to earn their right to the quarterfinals?
Well, I want to start with Feyenoord. Just I said in our the first Champions League spot we talked this season, I said that they were a team that's going to surprise some people. Not dark horse to win it, but maybe push for a quarterfinal. And they've looked fantastic so far, knocking out Milan in the playoff. Obviously, Inter is a different beast. They're one of the best teams in Europe, have been for the last few years. But I really don't think that they're going to be pushovers for Inter. I do think Inter are going to go through. They just have that little bit more, well, not a little bit, they have a lot more quality in their squad, let's be real. But I think that they are going to push Inter far closer than Inter's going to that Inter's going to appreciate. But I do think Inter are going to go through.
I do too, and I think just the fact that in Serie A, they've now gone to the top of the table. They have this, I don't want to say newly found confidence, because there's nothing that they shouldn't have been confident about this season. But I think that there's just kind of a good storm going on for Inter right now. So I too am with you, Gitano. I think that Inter is going to do it over Feyenoord. Another marquee matchup, we'll see the battle of the German heavyweights go at it. It will be Bayern Munich up against Leverkusen. Gitano, again, from a fantasy point of view, this has so many footballing fans' dreams written all over it. Now we get to live it across two legs. But the ultimate question is, who is going to accomplish their dreams of moving on to the next round in this competition?
So Bayer Leverkusen have been very good in Europe, obviously qualifying in the top 8 of the league phase. Bayern Munich, not so much. I don't want to say barely squeaking through, but did not do well in the league phase. Barely squeaked by Celtic. We talked about that. Celtic could have easily won that tie. Sorry. And I don't know what it is about Bayern Munich. They've been so dominant domestically, but in Europe they've not been the same beast. And I really think that over two legs, Bayer Leverkusen are going to be able to kind of beat them out here. It's not going to be pretty. But I think, and obviously, kind of end of the day, it's not going to do anything for Bayern in terms of, it's not going to throw their domestic season off. I don't expect them to fall off a cliff, and concede the Bundesliga title. But I definitely think that Bayer Leverkusen are going to get the better of them here.
Yeah, man. And again, I'm on the exact same page as you. I've also got Leverkusen to take this one, and then I do happen to think that Bayern's just going to go gung ho in the Bundesliga and run away with, maybe not run away with that, but I think they're going to win. But I do think that Leverkusen has more than enough to get themselves over the line, and I think that Bayern, given the struggles that they've had, like you said in the league phase, last round against Celtic, and Celtic could have easily gone through. I think that they're going to struggle this round to some degree, and Leverkusen will be there to take advantage. So looking forward to this tie, just like with the All Madrid clash. But I'm also going to take Leverkusen Gitano. Benfica take on Barcelona in the next round of the competition. Gitano, Barcelona will be confident and Benfica will be hopeful. Who prevails out of this tie?
I think it's going to be Barcelona. Kind of on paper, just a little more quality in the squad. I think they've turned a corner under Hansi Flick now. They've looked quite good. We saw them kind of go from kind of battling for top four to challenging for the title. They found just like a confidence, and a rhythm to their game, and I think that they're not going to cakewalk Benfica. Benfica's going to put up a good fight, but I do think Barcelona are going to win.
Yeah, me too, man. And just that extra touch of quality, the really good run of form that they're on. Hansi Flick is a manager that I've always rated and believed in. It's just one of those things where I can't see Barcelona not going through. So yeah, for me, it's also Barcelona. And finally, it will be PSG up against Liverpool to cap off the round of 16. Gitano, victory is going to be written in the stars for one of these two massive clubs, but who will it be?
This is a tough one. I would like, as the football romantic, I would love to see kind of the coming of age story of this PSG team, super young, super hungry, kind of really since abandoning the model of signing superstars and megastars and trying to make an 11 of megastars, but actually having a full team, a full squad effort. In the first real opportunity against a massive club like Liverpool in the Champions League, kind of beat them. But at the same time, Liverpool have been one of the hottest teams in Europe. It's really, really, really close. I think Liverpool's European. Not that a lot of their players are part of that Champions League winning team back in the day. I say back in the day, it was like 2019 they won it. Yeah. But they still have like most of the key players from that. Salah, Van Dijk, Trent, Robertson, Alisson. Like the kind of core of that team is still there with that European experience. I think that's going to be the major difference between these two teams. I think just PSG's lack of experience is gonna cost them here.
Yeah, and Gitano, you hit on one of the 2 points that I was going to talk about. Experience is number one, and something that some people are talking about, but not a lot, calmness. There's a calmness about this Liverpool team when they play under Jurgen Klopp. It was very, run and gun. It was heavy metal football, which everybody loved. And to some effect, Liverpool do that still a little bit, but you notice how they alter their tactics based on who they play. But it doesn't matter how they play. There's always that calmness about their style, and I think that's really reflective of Arne Slot, the manager. And I think with that perfect kind of blend of experience and calmness, I think that takes them over the line against PSG. So I am also going to take Liverpool. So to review our picks, Gitano, you've got Club Brugge, Atletico Madrid, PSV, Dortmund, Inter, Leverkusen, Barcelona, and Liverpool. I've got Villa, Real Madrid, Arsenal, Dortmund, Inter, Leverkusen, Barcelona, and Liverpool. And the round of 16 in the Champions League is, as we said, just about here. The first leg of games will kick off on March 4th and 5th, and the second leg of games will commence on March 11th and 12th. And in our next episode of Full Time, we will be able to highlight the winners of this round for you all. This is Daniel Scarpino and Gitano Gallo, and you're listening to the Full Time podcast on 91 Network. A reminder that Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza and Sioux Sports. Check out the Pizza Portal app for a quicker, easier way to get your next hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars. And be sure to check out Sioux Sports at siouxsports.com and Sioux Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Full Time. As we wrap up today's show, we want to send our deepest debt of thanks to all of you. Your support means everything. G, well done tonight, sir. What a show.
Well done to you as well, and just congratulations on winning our league. Hard-fought season. We still have to play you guys on Monday or Tuesday. Not looking forward to that, and that's going to be a long 60 minutes. But like I said, congratulations on winning the league. Well deserved.
Thank you, my friend, and thank you for being with me here tonight. And excited to see you on Monday and excited to do this show again when we do get to record next. And of course, that will be very, very soon. A reminder to our listeners that the next episode of Full Time will be recorded the week of March 10th, 2025. In that show, we will take a look at Europe's Big Five, the Champions League, the Carabao Cup, and local soccer. As always, we will keep everyone in the loop with all of the happenings in the world of football. For weekly content, make sure to hit like, follow, and subscribe to all platforms of 91 Network on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, Podbean, and Spaces at suetoday.com. For Gitano Gallo, my name is Daniel Scarpino, and thank you for tuning in to Full Time. We look forward to seeing you at kickoff next time back here on the Full Time Podcast and 91 Network. Best always.